qualifying to get into this field. Again, 43 cars will start. Now, yesterday after qualifying, they had happy hour, and we had a little problem coming out of turn number 2. That was Ricky Stenhouse Jr. in that number 99.
Yeah, trying to make his first ever Daytona start in that Roush Fenway K&N Ford's Fusion, and unfortunately got a little bit loose coming off too. And Kenny's car, the 52 of Bill Baird, came along with absolutely nowhere to go.
These drivers today.
See Mario Gosling move by on the inside of J.R. Hefner. Ooh, there's some contact right there.
Allie Owens in the 12 gets turned around. There's some contact as they came through the tri-oval. She is going to slide into the grass. Doesn't look like she'll touch anything there. That will bring out caution number 1 here at Daytona.
You see the roof flaps deploy when she got turned around. That keeps that car down on the ground. She did a nice job not making any contact with the inside wall.
What happens when these things get to wobbling? Now, she got pushed down a little bit, which made her go back up a little bit. And then when she got back up, she got into that black car, and then that's it.
But it's nice to know all that asphalt's down there, isn't it, Kenny? You don't want those cars sliding to the grass as much. That asphalt really helps keep these cars on the ground.
They slow down on the asphalt. They don't slow down at all on the grass.
You see the contact right there with the J.R. Hefner car, the 39. Remember, she's running 180 miles an hour when she starts that spin.
Smaller pack breaking out onto the tri-oval here than we've seen.
Whoa, we got
problems. 00 Ed Kennedy gets turned around. He collects another car. That's the 25. That's the Venerini-owned number 25, driven by Ryan Fisher.
There's quite a bit of damage to that 25 car. That's more than likely going to be terminal.
Second caution comes out on lap 10, just on the restart. This is coming out of turn 4, Phil.
Just watch the right of your screen. You see the 00 of Ed Kennedy get turned around. He was on the inside of another car. He makes some contact with the outside wall and then backs back across the racetrack. A lot of guys did some nice work to avoid that, but unfortunately the 25 of Ryan Fisher was not as lucky.
Trying to get out of the way, nowhere to go.
Yeah, just Ryan Fisher in the 25 just got caught in the right rear corner by Ed Kennedy coming across the racetrack. The 4 car right there, Taylor Malsom, did a real nice job avoiding that.
Just collecting that 25. You see the damage, and then he slides in to that safer barrier on the inside of the racetrack.
Yeah.
Wanted to know where Frank Kimmel was running. Well, he's still toward the back, being scored in the 28th position right now. Problems just in front of him, though, as the 12 of Allie Owens gets turned around once again. Caution will come out again. That's the 3rd caution of the day. Second one that Allie has brought out.
Yeah, the only thing I know about this is when you spin twice here and don't hit anything, it's time to reevaluate your day.
Well, you might want to call Vegas. I mean, the luck is definitely on her side.
Yes. On the flat.
We'll be right back. We'll find out what took place with Allie when we return. Gabby DiCarlo and Brian Scott had problems right in front of them. We see the car turned around. That's a 7 of Kyle Krisolov. He was running second before he got spun around. Oh, and problems continuing on the racetrack.
Yeah, that's Brian Silas right there. Some hard contact.
Okay, will you tell me again if my glass is half full or half empty?
I think I'm going to go with half empty on that, Ken.
Yeah.
Justin Allgaier spun out right down here, right just before the start-finish line, the 16 car. Is that Mario Gosling's car right there, the onboard camera? There's Scott Speed. Look at all the damage to that Red Bull Toyota.
Started second in this race, and he will end with 50 laps of racing to go after only 30 laps of racing. Scott Speed's day is over. Silas also involved in this one. You see the number 11 coming off the wall under his own power, but so much damage to that car, he won't make it back out.
Yeah, very, very difficult. Getting a report that The ARCA Remax officials are going to red flag this race to give them ample opportunity to clean up the racetrack. They're going to stop the field over there somewhere off to do a little damage to Justin Marks.
Cars laid around there just a little bit,
Right.
Ed.
That had to check up and slow down and avoid what took place right in the front of this field. Again, Tom Hessert, the third, was leading this race, and right behind him was the 7 of Kyle Krisaloff. Now, 7 of Kyle Krisaloff was sideways when we saw him as he came into our camera angle. And so obviously that was the problem. Let's take another look at what took place.
We saw Gabby DiCarlo getting a little bit loose here. He had the 75 of Brian Scott behind her, and then we saw the smoke up ahead of these guys, and then they all try to take some evasive action. The 75 of Brian Scott turns around, he collects, looked like the 4-car Taylor Malsom. There's the 39, the 09, the 44 Frank Kimmel sliding through the infield.
There's the 7. We see him checked up way back there, and we believe he had a lot to do with what took place behind him.
Yeah, a lot of damage to Mario Gosselin's car. Here's another view. This is a little bit closer to the front. You saw just left of your screen was the 2 of Scott Speed. We know he got considerable damage in this incident. There's a little bit of contact between Brian Scott, and then he made a little contact with that 32 car. That's Dominic Casola. There's Taylor Malsom got into the 75 of Brian Scott.
And everyone checking up, not only because of what was going on with Brian Scott, but also the front of the field. And here's a good look at now the 7. Again, the 7 moves up the racetrack and then tries to come back down, but there wasn't room.
It just comes back down, and Justin Marks had already committed to that part of the racetrack, and then he slid back up the racetrack, caught the 2 of Scott Speed. There's another view. Watch, he's going to come back down and try to get in that hole that's not there. Then you see Matt Carter runs in the back of the 65 of Justin Marks. Bobby Gerhardt does a great job. Michael Annette does a great job avoiding this, and everybody else, it seems like, is involved. Frank Kimmel, that white car spinning down through the middle of the racetrack. He spins in between 2 or 3 cars. Here comes Ricky Stenhouse right at his front end. Frank's going to slide out of the way of him. Just havoc all over the racetrack.
Seems like we always talk about the big one when we talk about restrictor plate racing, and this one started at the front and at the middle almost simultaneously.
Matt Carter did a real good job there.
Yeah, he really did.
Yeah.
Even though he made contact with Justin Marks, it could have been a whole lot worse. And then you could see those guys get back in the throttle to get by before Kyle Krisaloff came back up the racetrack.
Be some hard hitting there. That's Mario Goslin in the 21 that we saw, and then you saw Scott Speed running along the top there. Another contact there, and a very big hit.
Yeah.
Under caution for the 6th time this evening. And this time it was a car that was looking very strong after he had come off of pit road. That's the 65 of Justin Marks. He was running 2nd.
Fortunate ending for the Roush Fenway Racing Development driver.
Tough weekend, actually. That's the 2nd car that they've had out on this racetrack, and 2nd car that they've got some extensive damage to.
Ricky was involved in a practice crash yesterday. He was doing a great job. He's up in the top 5 here to this incident. Let's see if we can see what happened on this incident coming off turn number 2 here. There's Benny Chastain, the 54 car.
That's behind the
That's behind the accident. Looked like he cut down a right front tire and made some contact with the outside safer barrier.
He'll kind of slide into what's taking place in front of him. You see the smoke there, and that was where we'll take a look now at what took place up front.
Patrick Shelter gets loose and chases the car up the hill, just makes contact with the 65 of Justin Marks. You saw the 99 for a second, making some contact with the outside wall. There's Matt Carter on the outside right up against the wall, and Justin Marks and Patrick Shelter both spin down through the infield. Looks like Justin was about to get the thing straightened out, and the wheels were turned to the left. He headed towards the inside.
Right now.
And they are battling hard, that's for sure.
Side by side, and problem for the 19 now.
Jack Bailey right there. Looks like he blew out the left rear tire. He probably had a tire up from before. He had a little bit of piece of that accident. Side by side for the lead. There's Gerhardt on the outside.
Oh, and as Gerhardt makes his move to the high side of the racetrack, the caution has come out once again. Gerhardt trying to take over the lead. We'll take a look at the cameras, and ARCA will let us know where Bobby Gerhardt was when that caution came out. You see the damage to the left rear of that number 19 of Jack Bailey, and he'll try to make his way around into the pits.
See the shot right there. There's the left rear tire going down and blowing out and doing all that damage to the bodywork there.
A lot of debris on the racetrack.
Jack does a nice job of keeping that car out of the outside wall as well as the inside wall. That's the Eddie DeHunt Toyota. They're going to run 4 or 5 races this year with Jack Bailey. Jack's got a lot of experience in Hooters Pro Cup